The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. It came from deep space, carried by signals that traveled faster than light. Scientists around the world stopped their work. Governments held emergency meetings. The news spread like fire across every screen and phone on Earth. Humanity was not alone. The Galactic Federation had finally made contact. They called themselves the oldest civilization in the known universe. They had watched Earth for thousands of years, waiting for humans to reach a certain level of technology. Now, they said, humans were ready to join the greater community of stars. Ambassador received the official invitation 3 days later. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She had spent 20 years speaking for Earth in the most difficult situations. Wars, climate agreements, trade deals, she had seen it all, but nothing had prepared her for this. The invitation came in the form of a holographic message. A tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms appeared in her office. It introduced itself as High Counselor of the Galactic Federation. "Greetings, representative of Earth," the creature said. Its voice was smooth and cold, like metal sliding over glass. "We extend our hand in friendship. The Federation wishes to welcome humanity into our great family." Listened carefully as explained the terms. The Federation had 347 member species. They controlled most of the galaxy. They had technology that humans could only dream of, ships that could cross the universe in days, medicine that could cure any disease, machines that could build entire cities in hours. But there were conditions. All new species must accept guidance during their first 1,000 years of membership, explained. You will surrender your weapons of mass destruction. Your military will be reduced to a small defensive force. A Federation Council will oversee your major decisions. This is for your own protection, of course. Young species often make mistakes. Kept her face still, but inside her heart was beating fast. She thanked for the invitation and promised to bring it to Earth's leaders. The next week was chaos. Every nation on Earth sent their representatives to Geneva for an emergency meeting. They called it the United Council of Earth. It was the first time in history that every country had agreed to work together on something. Stood at the center of the Great Hall, surrounded by hundreds of leaders, generals, scientists, and diplomats. The holographic message played on a massive screen behind her. "They want us to give up our weapons," said General, a tall man with gray hair and a face marked by years of hard decisions. "They want to control our military. They want to tell us what to do." "But think of what they offer," said Doctor, a young scientist with bright eyes. "Cures for cancer, for aging itself. Technology that could end poverty and hunger. Is that not worth some sacrifice?" The room erupted in argument. Some wanted to accept immediately. Others wanted to refuse. Many were afraid of what the aliens might do if Earth said no. Raised her hand, and slowly the room fell quiet. "I have studied the invitation carefully," she said. "The Federation speaks of friendship, but their terms tell a different story. They do not see us as equals. They see us as children who need to be controlled." "Perhaps they are right," said a nervous diplomat from a small nation. "We have wars, we have pollution, we have weapons that could destroy our own planet. Perhaps we do need guidance." Shook her head slowly. "Every species makes mistakes. We have made many, but we have also learned from them. We ended world wars. We created the internet. We landed on the moon. We did these things ourselves through our own struggles and failures. That is how we grow." General stepped forward. "The ambassador is right. If we accept these terms, we become servants, not partners. We lose the right to make our own choices, our own mistakes, our own future." The debate continued for 3 more days. Slept only a few hours each night. She talked to scientists, soldiers, philosophers, and ordinary people. She listened to their hopes and their fears. On the 4th day, she received another message from. The High Counselor's tone was less friendly this time. "We await your answer, Earth. I must warn you, No species has ever refused our invitation. Those who stand alone in the galaxy face many dangers. The Federation cannot protect those who reject our friendship." It sounded like a threat, wrapped in polite words. Brought the message to the council. The room was tense. Fear hung in the air like smoke. "They are threatening us," said a young aide named. "They want us to be afraid." "And it is working," admitted Doctor. "I have received reports from around the world. People are scared. They want to accept just to be safe." Looked around the room. She saw fear in many eyes, but she also saw something else, a spark of pride, of stubbornness, of that strange human quality that refuses to bend even when bending would be easier. "We have a choice to make," she said. "We can accept safety in exchange for our freedom, or we can stand on our own feet and face whatever comes." The vote happened at midnight. It was close, closer than anyone had expected. But when the final count came in, the decision was clear. Earth would refuse the invitation. Felt a strange mix of pride and fear. She knew they had chosen the harder path. She knew there would be consequences, but deep in her heart, she believed they had made the right choice. "Prepare a response," she told her team. "Make it polite but firm. Tell them we are grateful for their offer, but we must decline." General smiled grimly. "They will not take this well." "No," agreed. "They will not, but we are humans. We have never taken the easy road. We are not going to start now." The message was sent the next morning. Somewhere in deep space, the Galactic Council was about to receive news that would shake them to their core. For the first time in 10,000 years, a young species had looked at the mighty Federation and said a single, powerful word. "No." The Galactic Council chamber was the largest structure in the known universe. It floated in the empty space between three ancient stars, a massive ring of silver and gold that could hold 1,000,000 beings at once. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered there to discuss the fate of worlds. Today, they had gathered to witness something historic. The young species called humans was sending their first official representative to the council. The message had already arrived, Earth's response to the Federation's generous invitation. But tradition demanded that a representative deliver the answer in person. Captain stood at the entrance of the great chamber, waiting for the doors to open. He was not a diplomat-like. He was a soldier, a man who had spent his life protecting his country and his world. But the council had chosen him for this mission because they wanted to send a message of their own. Earth was not afraid. The doors opened with a sound like thunder. Walked forward, his boots echoing on the crystal floor. Around him, thousands of alien faces watched with curiosity. Some were tall and thin, with skin like blue ice. Others were short and round, covered in soft fur. A few had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light and energy. At the center of the chamber sat the High Council, 12 of the oldest and most powerful beings in the galaxy. High Counselor was among them, his silver face showing no emotion. Stopped at the speaking platform. A translation device floated near his ear, turning his words into 1,000 different languages at once. "I am Captain of Earth," he said, his voice strong and clear. "I bring the official response of humanity to the Galactic Federation's invitation." The chamber fell completely silent. Every eye, every sensor, every attention was focused on this single human standing alone in the middle of the greatest gathering in the universe. Took a deep breath. "We decline." For a moment nothing happened. The silence stretched on, heavy and thick. Then, like a wave crashing on rocks, the chamber erupted into chaos. Alien voices filled the air, screaming, shouting, asking questions in languages that sounded like music and thunder and breaking glass. Translation devices struggled to keep up. Some delegates stood up from their seats. Others fell back in shock. "Impossible," cried a delegate with 8 eyes and wings like a dragonfly. "No species has ever refused." "The humans are mad," shouted another, a creature made of living stone. "They doom themselves." High Counselor raised one of his four hands, and slowly the noise began to die down, his cold eyes fixed on with an intensity that would have made most beings tremble. "You refuse our invitation," said slowly, as if he could not believe his own words. "You reject the friendship of the Galactic Federation, which has guided civilizations for 10,000 years." "Yes," said simply. "Do you understand what this means? You will be alone, no protection, no access to our technology, no help when disaster strikes your world. You will face the darkness of space with nothing but your primitive tools." Allowed himself a small smile. "We understand." Leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried through the entire chamber. "Your species is barely 1,000 years out of caves. You fight among yourselves. You poison your own planet. You build weapons that could destroy everything you have created. And you think you are ready to stand alone." "We do not think we are perfect," replied. "We know we have problems, we know we make mistakes, but those are our problems and our mistakes. We will solve them ourselves." A murmur ran through the crowd. This was new. This was different. No species had ever spoken to the High Council with such calm confidence. One of the other council members, a being that looked like a tree made of purple crystal, spoke up. "Perhaps they do not understand the dangers. Perhaps we should explain more clearly." "I understand the dangers," said. "Ambassador explained everything to our leaders. We spent days discussing every possible outcome. We know there are threats in the galaxy. We know we are small and young, but we also know something about ourselves." "And what is that?" asked, his voice dripping with cold curiosity. Looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings from 100 different worlds. "Humans do not give up. We do not surrender. When we face a challenge, we find a way to overcome it. When someone tells us something is impossible, we prove them wrong. It is in our nature." "Pretty words," said a delegate with scales like diamonds. "But words do not stop weapons. Words do not cure plagues. Words do not save a species from extinction." "No," agreed. "Actions do. And our actions have brought us from caves to the stars in just a few thousand years. Give us time and we will stand beside you as equals, not as children who need guidance." High Counselor rose from his seat. He towered over, his silver body catching the light of the 3 distant stars. "You speak of equality," said, "but equality is earned, not demanded. Every species in this chamber has proven itself over thousands of years. What have humans proven? That you can build bombs that destroy cities, that you can pollute your oceans and burn your forests. This is not proof of greatness. This is proof of foolishness." Felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "You see our mistakes. You do not see what we have learned from them. Every war taught us the value of peace. Every disaster taught us to protect our world. We are not the same species that built those bombs. We are growing, changing, becoming better. And you believe you can do this without our help. We believe we must do this without your help. If we accept your terms, we become dependent on you. We never learn to stand on our own. We never become truly great, just another protected species living under your shadow." The chamber fell quiet again. Many of the delegates were looking at with new expressions, some with respect, some with fear, some with confusion. High Counselor stared at the human for a long moment. Then he turned to face the rest of the council. "You have heard the human's words. They reject our invitation. They reject our protection. They choose to stand alone in a dangerous universe." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Very well. Let them face the consequences of their choice." Nodded slowly. "We accept those consequences. Whatever comes, we will face it together, as humans always have." He turned and began walking back toward the chamber doors. The crowd parted before him, aliens of every shape and size moving aside to let the strange, stubborn human pass. Just before he reached the exit, a soft voice spoke in his ear. He turned to see a small creature with gentle eyes and fur like golden silk. "I hope you are right, human," the creature whispered. "For your sake, I hope you are right." Smiled, "So do I." The doors closed behind him, and the Galactic Council was left in chaos. For the first time in 10,000 years, they had been refused. A young species had looked at their power, their technology, their ancient wisdom, and had simply said no. Somewhere in the chamber, an old delegate shook his head slowly. "This is not over," he muttered to no one in particular. "This is only the beginning." He was more right than he knew. The news of Earth's refusal spread across the galaxy like a storm. Every species, every world, every corner of civilization buzzed with the story. The humans had said no. The tiny, primitive species from the small blue planet had rejected the Galactic Federation. Some laughed at the foolishness of these young beings. Others watched with quiet interest, wondering what would happen next. A few, very few, felt something that might have been admiration. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. For one brief moment, humanity was united in pride. They had stood up to the greatest power in the universe and had not backed down. But the leaders who made the decision knew that the real test was yet to come. Commander stood on the bridge of Earth's spacecraft, the Unity. She was a woman of medium height with short black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had commanded forces in 3 wars and had led the first human mission beyond the solar system. Now she was in charge of Earth's entire space defense force. It was not a large force. 12 ships, most of them designed for exploration rather than combat, but it was all they had. "Commander," said her second officer, Lieutenant, "we are receiving a transmission from the Federation." Nodded, "Put it on screen." The face of High Counselor appeared before them. His expression was no longer neutral. There was something in his eyes that looked almost like anger. "Commander of the human fleet," said, "I bring a message from the Galactic Council." "I am listening," replied. "The Council has discussed your species' rejection of our invitation. We are disappointed. We had hoped that humans would recognize the wisdom of joining our great family. Instead, you have chosen isolation." Kept her face calm. "That is our right." "Indeed it is, but choices have consequences." His voice grew colder. "The Federation has decided to implement certain measures. Effective immediately, all trade with Earth is forbidden. No Federation species may share technology, resources, or knowledge with humans. You are now alone." "We expected as much," said. Tilted his head, studying her through the screen. "You do not seem afraid." "Should I be?" "Perhaps. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Commander. There are threats that your young species cannot imagine. Without the protection of the Federation, you are vulnerable." Smiled slightly. "We have survived ice ages. We have survived plagues that killed millions. We have survived wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. We have even survived ourselves. I think we can manage." For a moment said nothing. His 4 hands clenched and unclenched slowly. "You humans are strange creatures. You face certain danger with smiles on your faces. Either you are very brave or very foolish." "Maybe both," admitted. "Let me be clear, Commander. The Council does not wish to threaten you directly. We are not violent by nature, but we also cannot allow a defiant species to inspire others. If other young civilizations see that humans rejected us and survived, they may attempt the same. So you will make an example of us." His eyes narrowed. "We will do what is necessary to maintain order in the galaxy. Nothing more, nothing less." The transmission ended, and the screen went dark. Stared at the empty space where his face had been. "That sounded like a threat," Lieutenant said quietly. "It was," agreed. "The Council is afraid." Looked surprised. "Afraid of us." Turned to face her officer. "Not of us specifically. They are afraid of what we represent. For 10,000 years, every species has accepted their terms. Every civilization has bent its knee to the Federation. We are the first to stand up and say no. That scares them more than any weapon. What do we do now? Looked out at the stars beyond the ship's windows. Somewhere out there, the most powerful civilization in history was deciding how to punish humanity for its pride. We prepare, she said. We train, we learn, and when they come for us, we show them what humans are made of. The next few months were difficult. The Federation's sanctions hit hard. Trade partners disappeared overnight. Scientific collaborations were canceled. Earth was truly alone in the galaxy. But humans were nothing if not adaptable. Scientists worked day and night to understand the alien technology they had collected over the years. Engineers built new ships, better ships, designed not for exploration but for defense. Every nation contributed what it could. Ambassador worked with world leaders to maintain unity. It was not easy. Old conflicts threatened to rise again. Some countries blamed others for the current situation. Fear and anger spread like poison. We cannot fight among ourselves, told the United Council. The Federation is waiting for us to fall apart. They think we are too divided, too weak to survive alone. We must prove them wrong. General, now the supreme commander of Earth's united military, agreed. Every soldier, every ship, every resource must work together. National borders mean nothing now. We are all humans first. It was a message that slowly spread across the planet. Old enemies shook hands. Former rivals worked side by side. For the first time in history, humanity truly began to act as one species. Then the warning came. Doctor was the first to see it on her sensors. A fleet of ships, larger than anything humans had ever built, was approaching Earth's solar system. How many? Asked Commander, her voice tight. Checked her readings twice, then 3 times. Her face went pale. Over 200 ships. The largest is almost 10 kilometers long. 200 ships against 12. The math was simple and terrifying. The Federation fleet stopped at the edge of the solar system. They did not attack. They simply waited, a wall of metal and power floating in the darkness. High Counselor sent another message. This time, his face showed no emotion at all. People of Earth, he said, this fleet is here to remind you of your position in the galaxy. You are small. You are weak. You are alone. The Council has given you one final chance. Accept our original terms and we will welcome you as members of the Federation. Refuse again and we will leave you to face the dangers of the universe without any hope of assistance. The choice is yours. The message ended. Earth fell silent. In the Great Hall of the United Council, leaders gathered once again. The mood was different now. The fleet outside their solar system was real, visible, undeniable. Fear had replaced pride. Perhaps we should reconsider, said a nervous delegate. We have proven our point. We have shown that we are brave. But surely there is no shame in accepting protection from such overwhelming force. Others nodded in agreement. The votes were shifting. People were scared. Ambassador stood slowly. She looked tired. The weight of the past month showed on her face, but her eyes were still sharp, still determined. I understand your fear, she said. I share it, but I want to ask you one question. If we surrender now, what message do we send to our children? That humans can be frightened into submission. That our pride, our independence, our future, all of it can be bought with threats. The room was quiet. We did not come this far to give up, continued. We came this far because we believed in something. We believed that humanity deserves to choose its own path. That belief has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the size of the challenge. She looked around the room, meeting every eye. So I ask you, are we still the species that walked out of caves and conquered a planet? Are we still the species that looked at the moon and said, we will go there? Are we still humans? The silence stretched on. Then slowly Commander stood up. We are, she said. One by one, others rose to their feet. Generals and scientists, politicians and ordinary citizens. They stood together, united in their defiance. The vote was taken, the answer was sent. Earth would not surrender. Outside the solar system, the Federation fleet received the message. And for the first time in their long history, the masters of the galaxy felt something they had almost forgotten. Uncertainty. The Federation fleet had been sitting at the edge of Earth's solar system for 3 weeks. They did not advance. They did not retreat. They simply waited like a cat watching a mouse, patient and certain of victory. High Counselor observed the tiny blue planet from his command ship. He had studied humans for many years. He knew their history, their wars, their triumphs and failures. He believed he understood them. He was wrong. High Counselor, said his aide, a nervous creature with too many eyes. Our sensors are detecting unusual activity on the third planet. Waved a hand dismissively. They are preparing their defenses. Let them. They're 12 ships against our 200. The outcome is certain. Yes, High Counselor, but the readings are strange. Energy patterns we do not recognize. Turn slowly. Explain. They appear to be testing new technology. Technology that should not exist. Deep underground, in a secret facility beneath the mountains of Korea, Doctor worked without sleep. He was a thin man with wild hair and eyes that burned with intensity. Around him, hundreds of scientists from every nation on Earth worked at a fever pace. On the tables before them lay pieces of alien technology, fragments collected over decades from crashed ships, stolen data, secret trades. Before Earth's refusal, this technology had been a curiosity, something to study slowly and carefully. Now it was their only hope. Report said, not looking up from his screen. His assistant, a young woman named, checked her notes. The propulsion team has made a breakthrough. They believe they can increase our ship speeds by a factor of 50. Not enough. The Federation ships are still faster. The weapons team is making progress on the energy shields. They think they can create a barrier strong enough to stop Federation weapons. Finally looked up. How long? 2 weeks, maybe less. He nodded slowly. Good, what about the main project? Hesitated. That one is more complicated. The technology is unlike anything we have ever seen. Even with all our resources, it should take us decades to understand it. We do not have decades, we have days. I know, took a deep breath. But there is something strange happening. The engineers report that they are learning faster than should be possible. Ideas that should take months to develop are coming to them in hours. It is as if. As if what? As if their minds are working differently, better, faster. Was silent for a moment, then a slow smile spread across his face. Of course, it is the pressure. Sorry. Humans have always been at their best when they are pushed to the edge. When we face extinction, something inside us wakes up. Our minds work faster. We see solutions that would normally be invisible. He laughed softly. The Federation thought they were scaring us. Instead, they are making us stronger. Outside the solar system was growing impatient. 3 weeks was too long. The Council was asking questions. Other species were watching, waiting to see what would happen. Send another message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them our patience is running out. The message was sent. But this time, the response came not from Ambassador or the United Council. It came directly from Doctor himself. His face appeared on screens across the Federation fleet. He looked tired, dirty, and completely calm. High Counselor said, I have a message for you and for the entire Galactic Federation. You came here expecting to find a weak, primitive species. You expected us to be frightened by your ships and your technology. You were wrong. Leaned forward, his cold eyes narrowing. For the past 3 weeks, continued, we have been studying the alien technology in our possession. Technology that, according to your own records, should take a young species centuries to understand. We have understood it in days." A murmur ran through the Federation fleet. Officers exchanged worried glances. "Allow me to demonstrate." The screen changed to show Earth's moon. The Federation observers watched with growing confusion as something began to rise from the surface. It was a ship, no, a fleet of ships. Dozens of vessels, each one gleaming with new technology. But that was not the most shocking part. The ships were moving at speeds that should have been impossible. They crossed the distance from the moon to the Federation fleet in seconds, then stopped, hovering in perfect formation. Stared at the screen in disbelief. "This is not possible. Where did they get this technology?" "We built it," said simply. "Your own technology combined with human creativity. You gave us the pieces. We put them together in ways you never imagined." "You are bluffing. These ships cannot be real. You have not had time." "We learn fast." Smile widened. "That is what you do not understand about humans. When our survival is threatened, we become something more. We adapt. We innovate. We refuse to accept the impossible." Commander's voice joined the transmission. She stood on the bridge of the new flagship, Earth's Hope. Around her, officers from every nation worked together with perfect coordination. "High Counselor said, your fleet outnumbers ours. Your ships are larger. But I promise you this, if you attack Earth, you will pay a price that your Federation has never paid before." Was silent for a long moment. His mind raced through calculations, possibilities, outcomes. The situation had changed completely. These humans had done something that should have been impossible. For the first time in his long life, he felt doubt. "You may have new ships," he said finally, "but technology is not everything. Our officers have thousands of years of experience. Our tactics have been perfected over countless battles. Your species has never fought a true space war." "True," admitted. "But we have fought many wars on our own planet. We have learned lessons in blood and fire that your peaceful Federation has forgotten. We know what it means to fight for survival." Another voice joined the conversation. It was, speaking from the United Council chamber on Earth. "High Counselor, I want you to understand something. We did not want this confrontation. We do not want war. We simply want the right to choose our own future. Is that truly so threatening to your Federation?" His expression hardened. "It is not about threat. It is about order. The galaxy cannot function if every young species decides to go its own way. There must be guidance. There must be structure." "There must be freedom," replied softly. "Without freedom, structure becomes prison. Guidance becomes control. Order becomes oppression. Your Federation has forgotten this. Perhaps it is time for someone to remind you." The transmission ended. The Federation fleet faced the new human ships across the void of space. On his command ship sat in silence. His aides waited nervously for orders. Attack, retreat. The decision rested on his shoulders alone. He thought about the 10,000 years of Federation history. He thought about the countless species that had been welcomed, guided, controlled. He thought about a small blue planet full of strange, stubborn creatures who refused to bend. And he realized something that he would never admit to anyone. He was impressed. These humans, these primitive beings from a tiny world, had done in weeks what other species had failed to do in centuries. They had looked at impossible technology and made it their own. They had faced overwhelming force and had not surrendered. They had found a way to survive. Perhaps thought they were not so primitive after all. But his duty was to the Federation. His orders were clear. He could not simply back down because a young species had surprised him. The galaxy was watching. The next move would determine the future of humanity, and perhaps the future of the Federation itself. The standoff lasted for 7 days. 7 days of tension, of silent threats, of ships floating in the darkness while two civilizations decided their fate. On Earth, people held their breath. In the Federation fleet, officers waited for orders that never came. High Counselor spent those 7 days in deep thought. He reviewed every report, every analysis, every prediction his advisors could offer. The conclusion was always the same. The Federation could win a war against humanity, but the cost would be terrible. The human ships were faster than expected, stronger than expected, more advanced than should have been possible. A direct attack would mean losses, real losses, something the Federation had not experienced in thousands of years. And then there was the other problem, the one that kept awake at night. Other species were watching. Messages had come from across the galaxy. Young civilizations, species that had accepted Federation terms without question, were asking new questions. If humans could stand alone, why could they not? If humans could develop their own technology, why were they being told they needed guidance? The refusal was spreading like a disease. On the 7th day, called an emergency meeting of the High Council, the 12 ancient leaders gathered in their chamber, their faces grave and uncertain. "We have a decision to make," said. "The humans have proven themselves to be more capable than we anticipated. An attack would be costly, and even if we win, the damage to our reputation could be far greater." "We cannot show weakness," said Counselor, a being of pure energy who had ruled his species for 5,000 years. "If we back down from these primitives, every young civilization will think they can do the same. But if we attack and lose ships, we show weakness of a different kind," argued Counselor Myra, an ancient creature with skin like aged paper. "Better to find another solution." The debate went on for hours. Listened to every argument, every proposal. Finally, he raised his hand for silence. "There is one option we have not considered," he said slowly. "What if we were wrong?" The council fell silent. No one spoke such words. The Federation was never wrong. "For 10,000 years," continued, "we have believed that young species need guidance. We have believed that without our control they would destroy themselves. But these humans, they have proven that they can learn, adapt, grow on their own." "What are you suggesting?" asked. "I am suggesting that perhaps our way is not the only way. Perhaps there is room in the galaxy for species who choose their own path." The council erupted into argument. Some called a traitor, others defended him. The ancient structure of the Federation shook as its oldest leaders questioned everything they had believed. Back on Earth, Ambassador received an unexpected message. It was a request, not a demand, not a threat, but a genuine request for a meeting. "They want to talk," she told the United Council. "High Counselor is asking to speak with us directly." "It is a trick," said General. "They want to get us to lower our guard." "Perhaps," admitted, "but if there is any chance for peace, we must take it." After much debate, a meeting was arranged. Would go to the Federation flagship, accompanied by a small team. It was a risk, but believed it was necessary. She took with her doctor, commander, and a young diplomat named. They flew through the emptiness of space in a small shuttle, surrounded by the massive ships of the Federation fleet. The meeting room on its flagship was cold and sterile. The High Counselor sat alone at a long table, his 4 hands folded in front of him. He looked tired, tired and old. Ambassador said, "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for inviting us," sat across from him, her team behind her. "I admit I did not expect this." "Neither did I," was quiet for a moment. "I have spent much time thinking about your species, about what you have accomplished, about what you represent." "And what conclusion have you reached?" "That we underestimated you, badly," leaned forward. "In 3 weeks your scientists achieved what should have taken centuries. Your people united when they should have divided. You faced overwhelming force without fear. I have never seen anything like it." Nodded slowly. "We are a stubborn species." "You are more than that. You are adaptable, creative, determined. These are qualities that the Federation has lost over the. We have become comfortable, predictable, slow. You remind us of what we once were." Is that why you asked us here, to tell us you are impressed? Shook his head. I asked you here because I have a proposal, a new kind of arrangement, different from anything the Federation has offered before. The room grew very quiet, could feel her heart beating faster. We propose an alliance, said, not as protector and protected, not as guide and guided, but as equals, two civilizations working together, learning from each other. Exchanged glances with her team. This was unexpected. This was everything they had hoped for. What about your terms? She asked. The weapons restrictions, the guidance council, the 1,000 years of oversight. Those terms were for young species that need protection. You have proven that you do not. His voice was heavy. I will not pretend this will be easy. Many in the Federation will oppose this change. It goes against everything we have believed for 10,000 years, but I believe it is the right path. Doctor spoke up. Why now? Why change after all this time? Turned his cold eyes to the scientist. Because you showed us something we had forgotten. The galaxy is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be explored, challenged, changed. Species that are kept safe never grow. They stagnate. They fade. Perhaps the Federation has been fatting for a long time. Perhaps you humans are exactly what we needed to wake us up. The negotiations took 3 more days. Diplomat handled the details with patience and skill, working through treaties and agreements that would change the course of galactic history. The final document was signed in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, with representatives from 347 species watching in amazement. Humanity, the young and stubborn species from a small blue planet, had become the first true equal partner of the Federation. As signed her name to the treaty, she felt the weight of the moment. Billions of humans were watching from Earth. The future stretched before them, bright and uncertain and full of possibility. After the ceremony, she found herself standing alone with High Counselor, looking out at the stars. You know, said, I have been alive for 12,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves and others reach the heights of civilization. But I have never seen anything quite like your people. We are just humans, said. That is what makes you remarkable. You are just humans, small, short-lived, imperfect creatures, and yet you refuse to accept your limitations. You refuse to be told what you could not do. You looked at the entire galaxy and said, we will find our own way. Smiled, we did not have much choice. Surrender was never really an option. For most species, surrender is always an option. The fact that you do not see it that way, that is your greatest strength. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars turn slowly beyond the windows. What happens now? Asked finally. Now everything changes. You have shown the galaxy that there is another way. Other species will follow your example. The Federation will have to adapt or it will fall. Paused. It will not be easy. There will be conflicts, challenges, dangers we cannot predict, but I believe the galaxy will be stronger for it. And humans turned to look at her. For the first time, there was something almost like warmth in his cold eyes. Humans will do what they have always done. You will struggle and fight and make terrible mistakes. You will create wonders and commit horrors. You will fall down and get back up again and again until you have achieved things that even my ancient species cannot imagine. He paused. And someday, I believe, you will lead this galaxy into an era of greatness that we have never seen. Looked out at the stars, the billions of stars, each one a sun, each one perhaps circled by worlds full of life and possibility, all of it waiting to be explored. We will try, she said. That is all we can ever do. Behind her, Commander, Doctor, and stood together, representing all of humanity. They were small, they were young, they were imperfect. But they were human, and that, it turned out, was more than enough. The journey to the stars had only begun.